Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back. If you guys don't know me or if you're new here, my name is Morgan and we do some spooky stuff here. We talk about scary stories that have been sent in to me, and if you guys want to send in your own, they will be linked below. We talk about scary movies, we talk about Appalachian folklore, and we talk about my own scary stories that make me think that I have enough experience to help others, because when I tell you I have been through a lot, I have. But if you guys are interested in all of that, please hit that subscribe button. I am here for you every Tuesday through Saturday for the long form videos, and then I upload a short every other day. So I'm posting quite a bit on here. And I also have other social medias. I have TikTok where I have like over 800,000 followers. I do all spooky stuff there. I do follower stories there, kind of the same stuff. I have an Instagram, and I have a Twitter. I don't really use it that often, but I do have a Patreon. There's 4 different tiers. We do follower story breakdowns, horror movie chats that I don't talk about the movies anywhere else. You guys get access to information about me early, so books, movies, things like that. I do act, so information about that stuff will go there first, all that kinds of stuff. So please check all of that out. It's all linked below, and yeah, I hope to see you guys everywhere. Today we are going to be reading parts 3, 4, and 5 of Winter's Stories. I will link part 1 and 2 below. It's in one video. I don't know how many of these will be. Depends on how many stories Winter sends me, but I will read all of them that are sent. Also, a little disclaimer, I am incredibly sick. My voice is not that pleasing to listen to, but I still wanted to get some stories out for you guys. So I apologize. I'm just really sorry I don't sound the way I normally do. I don't know what I have. It's like, I want to say it's seasonal allergies, but I feel like I've been hit by a truck, so maybe the flu. I don't know. But I just wanted to get that out of the way because I sound like I gargled a bowl of nails. So I didn't. I'm just sick. But let's get into the stories. Hey y'all, hopefully all is well. Today I bring a possible explanation for a good chunk of paranormal activity my family and I have experienced. Trigger warnings in this story, as this may disturb many. There are mentions of sacrifices, deaths, and abuse. This is a touchy subject to many, and I can't blame anyone for being uncomfortable. Apologies in advance, but this context might explain my stories previously and ones to come. Take note that the people mentioned in this story are still around. A beautiful community has some dark secrets. In the woods behind what used to be our property are grounds that Satanists frequently used. They used some caves a couple miles from us for rituals and sacrifices until some of the local farmers banded together and got these areas restricted. In doing so, they moved in right behind us where I've previously mentioned the native burial grounds. We've been back there on many occasions. Not the brightest idea, but we're alive. The ritual site has a large bonfire area surrounded with stone and bones scattered all about. We've seen the remains of many animals, deer, goat, pigs, rabbits, coyotes, and birds that have been dismembered and or burned. I wish I could find the pictures, but I haven't had any luck in relocating them after all these years. When we'd moved in, it wasn't something we were aware of, but in the next few years we were very aware. From our back porch, we could hear their music and what some would call singing along from the light and fire in the far distance. A very eerie presence fills the air every time they go out. Usually only during specific moon cycles and holidays would they go back there. Well, one Halloween night, they were having another powwow back there, and we hear a lady scream. Not your regular type of scream. She was in agony. I've never heard a voice in so much pain. We couldn't make out much, but we could make out her saying stop, please, and no within her cries. There was yelling and chanting going on at the same time. I remember listening in horror. After a little while, her screams were choked out and it was silent. Too silent. We could only suspect that she was sacrificed. We didn't dare go back there after that incident. The cops were called out multiple times, and after a couple of hours they finally arrived, only to tell us, sorry, we can look around, but we will not be going out into those woods. They had very uncomfortable looks on their faces and were not going back there for nothing. On one hand, I can't blame them. There have been a multitude of callings for them to come out over the years, but nothing would ever get done. One cop even told my mom, what's best for you and your children is to stay inside as long as you live here. It's not safe in these parts and they will hurt you. I advise you to think about moving. They have their eyes on you. The problems only got worse as the years went by due to some new information, which I will divulge now, but there will be lots of explaining that leads up to these events. Why am I kind of scared to tell this story? We tried finding a way to move out, but due to circumstances, it was hard for us to do that over the years. Later on, we would get plenty more warnings, such as animal bones and weird patterns surrounding our house, machetes stabbed into the wood walls of our barn, and other weapons of sorts placed in significant areas on the property. The problem situation was going on until the day we left. We'd gone out of state since then and had stayed low due to the fear that they may come looking for us again. There are so many details to this story and far more encounters with this cult, including being chased down and them getting into our house on multiple occasions. We're all okay, but things could have turned out so bad. Note: During almost every event, the police had been called out. In a town where the police are either in with the Satanists or fear them, to most they call it a beautiful place and a peaceful one, but the dark history still surfaces to this day. Looks are deceiving. We ended up in the worst spot with a peculiar circumstance to have this happen to us. I haven't stressed what mental state that has put us in, but it still scares us because the cult is large and no one will stop them. Their numbers are plenty, and everything is swept under the rug. Only the locals who have witnessed a thing or two can tell you what's gone down. The news won't cover it 95% of the time, and the officials turn a blind eye. This has been a long story, and draining one at that. Stay safe and mindful. I hope you aren't reading this before bed. Take care, and I'll be back for some more paranormal-oriented stories in the future. Talk to you later, Winter. I am so scared to post this story, and I may chicken out and leave this part out. I mean no harm in posting this. I just want that known. I mean no harm. No harm. I'm just reading a story. I don't know who you are. I don't want to know. Not my business. Okay. Let's read story number 2. How's it going, y'all? I'm relieved to tell you more of my personal stories. I very rarely share my experiences outside of my family because it causes discomfort to others that I tell. When I saw your video about my first stories I sent in, I was overwhelmed with happiness. Thank you for sharing your followers' stories. It means a lot. Now on to the stories. My family and I have experienced walkers and mimics on multiple occasions. Here's the first story. I was around 11 years old when this took place. It was around 2 in the morning and I woke up to hearing someone call my name. I went out of the room to find out who it was. I went across the house to the kitchen where I found 3 of my siblings by the refrigerator and I asked them if they had called my name. They looked at me and immediately said, "You too?" All 3 of them had heard someone call them and they got up to investigate. We stayed up a while longer because we were scared. Second story. Around the same time period as the last story, I was outside in the side yard when our Great Pyrenees was rolling around in the field near the tree line. Feared. I called for her and then the dog looked straight at me and proceeded to walk backwards into the trees. Not but a moment later, I heard a dog breathing behind me. Our Pyrenees had come from the yard to me. The dog that went into the woods looked exactly like her, but didn't act like a normal dog. I'm sure it was a mimic, especially after other experiences where we would see the dogs on the back porch and seconds later we'd walk to the front door and they'd be asleep on the front porch. It walked backwards? Ugh. Story number 3. I was 14 when this story took place. I was in the dining room with a couple of siblings making some drawings and my mom was cooking in the kitchen. She stopped what she was doing and was talking towards the hallway and stairwell that went upstairs. It was clear that she was talking to Dad about something, but then I heard her say, "Where are you going?" Before she could finish talking, my dad had come out of their bedroom off of the living room and said, "Who are you talking to?" She'd seen him on the stairs 1 second, across the other house another second. We all heard the conversation, but that was not our dad. Story number 4. This is my sister's story. 2 of my sisters were conversating together as they were getting ready for church. My sister exited the room wearing a red top, and through the upstairs hallway she was headed towards the stairwell where she encountered herself popping her head out from behind a rail. Her shirt was noticeable, a navy blue top that she often wore. My sister froze in fear and her double gave her a haunting smile. A kind of smile my sister described as not being humanly possible. A smile wider than she could possibly do. The mimic then disappeared behind the wall between them. My sister then finally was able to move, and she looked down the stairs to find no one there. Around 30 minutes later after this incident, the other sister who she'd been talking to earlier came down saying, "You changed. When did you change back into the red one?" She had encountered that mimic upstairs, the one with the navy blue top. Story 5. Since leaving Appalachia, I started a job that keeps me outside and in rural areas when I have to go into the woods. It's happened a few times that I'll hear whistling sounds that don't sound quite right. They usually come from the direction in which I need to go for work. I know not to follow the whistles, but I can't make that decision when I'm required to do my job where it's happening. Luckily, nothing too serious has happened. I've heard something follow me around, crunching leaves, brushing against bushes, scratching on trees, water being disrupted, and gravel being kicked around with nothing in sight. I do believe it's spiritually dangerous to tempt the whistlers with my presence, but I keep pushing on. This year I had experienced something out in the middle of nowhere. Down a dirt road in a piney forest calling my name. The guy that works with me came to me later asking, "Did you call out your own name earlier?" I brushed it off to not scare him, but it was clear that something was calling out there. Thanks for listening. These are the ones that I can remember at the moment, and if I remember any more, I'll let you know. Hopefully these stories won't attract them, but that's all. Have a good day, good night, and sleep well. Ooh, oh God. All right, let's read the final part on this. How's life? I hope the 2 of you are doing well. This collection of events from my childhood puts me off from wanting to be around dolls or some other toys. So here we go. Early 2000s, my sister had gotten a doll that looked as if it was watching you no matter where you went. Naturally, it's kind of weird, but the creepy part being that doll would move at night. My sister had come out of her bedroom with the doll still in the bedroom, and she went to the bathroom down the hall. When she came out of the bathroom, the doll was in the living room on the other side of the hall, faced towards the hallway, and it was laid against the wall. This wasn't the only time. Around the same time period, one of my other sisters had come down from her room at night and found the doll at the base of the stairs. She ignored it and went to the kitchen. Once she came back, the doll was gone and no one else was awake. She looked around and the doll was in the room where she had just walked away. Looking right at her, the doll moving happened more, which led to the doll being blindfolded by members of the family and left in a crib full of stuffed animals that didn't stop the doll from appearing in different places, though. Ugh. As far as we are aware, no one in the family would have pulled a prank like this, and such a prank would have been at master stealth. Huh. Story number 2. I wonder what happened to the doll now. My mother owns a baby secret doll. She has pulled a string which allowed it to say scary things like, "I like to whisper in the dark," and "Is anyone else awake?" I'd never liked this doll, and it always freaked me out, but my fears were confirmed when it would randomly sound off in the middle of the night when no one was around it to pull its string. Luckily, the voice box had finally given out, despite how creepy the doll is. My mom still cherishes that doll. Story 3. One of my older sisters had gotten a toy horse for Christmas, one that was meant to be sat on like a chair. The horse was rather heavy, 15 to 20 pounds. I was around 10 when I heard something banging in the living room. I went in there to find that the toy horse was lifting the 2 front feet off the ground and thudding them. After that, it stopped, but later on it would start again. At this point, I was too shook up to go look. The next morning, I woke up for the horse to be by my bedside. The horse was sent to the attic where it was dwelled for many years before we disposed of it. Story 4. One of my oldest sisters and I were talking in my room, and in this room was a bunk bed that had a stuffed animal frog on it. While we were talking, we noticed something move. The frog had turned its body towards us. It was facing cattywampus from the wall behind it until then. In the upstairs den, some of my siblings and I were playing a board game, while across the room was my little sister's Mrs. Goodby talking dollhouse. As you were playing, the dollhouse spoke on its own. "Hello, dear, how are you?" We all jumped, not expecting the dollhouse to talk, and then it fell over. With its size, it would have taken some force to knock it over. We were all spooked, but we investigated and found out that the dollhouse had no batteries in it. There was no way for it to get power and talk. The dollhouse went to the attic after that. Thanks for reading. The amount of crazy experiences my family and I have encountered keeps on going. If you're interested, I'll keep posting our stories when I have the time. It feels very unreal that we encounter all of this, and we question our sanity at times, but when a group of people experience the same phenomenon, it's hard to dismiss. With that being said, y'all have a good night. Winter. Okay, all of those were scary. I legitimately haven't stopped thinking about the cult the entire time. Like, that's permeated into my brain. Y'all don't think anything bad will happen if I tell that story, right? Like, I'm okay? Because I mean no harm. I'm just sharing a story. Their business is their business. It's whatever. I'm just sharing a story. I don't know. I'm very scared. It's fine. Okay. But on that note, I am going to go, but I hope you guys didn't watch this at night. If you did, I'm so sorry.